There are seasons in life where God places you in a waiting room, a quiet space between where you are and where you dream of being. It's a place that feels slow, still, and sometimes painfully silent. A place where questions rise louder than answers, and faith feels harder than fear. You look ahead and see no movement. You look behind and see no progress. You look within and feel confused, tired, fragile, and stretched. Everything in you wants to step forward, but God whispers, "Be still." And in that stillness, He is doing something deep, something invisible, something eternal. This is the season where God prepares the soil of your heart for the seeds of His promise. This is the place where roots grow before fruit appears. This is where God works in hidden ways, shaping you, strengthening you, refining you, and aligning every detail of your future. Waiting is not punishment. Waiting is preparation. Waiting is where God transforms you. And now, from this moment forward, we walk into the continuous main script, flowing without interruption. Waiting is one of the most misunderstood gifts God gives. We often run from it, fear it, or question it. But God uses waiting as a divine tool to shape the inner life we often overlook. Waiting tests what you believe, but more importantly, it transforms who you become. And the person you are becoming matters far more to God than the place you're trying to reach. When God asks you to wait, He is not denying your prayer. He is deepening your foundation, so the answer He gives won't break you. Many people want blessings, but are not yet built for them. They want doors opened, but have not developed the character to stay inside those doors. They want elevation without preparation, success without surrender, and abundance without obedience. But God, in His perfect wisdom, refuses to give you anything that will rise faster than your maturity. Because a blessing you are not ready for becomes a burden. A door you enter too early becomes a disaster. And a gift given before its time becomes a weight that crushes your spirit. So God waits, and He asks you to wait with Him. Waiting is not stillness. It is spiritual construction. God is building something. Deep within your heart, your identity, your habits, your discipline, your strength, your patience, your vision, your clarity, your faith, all of it is being constructed piece by piece. The waiting season becomes holy ground where God reshapes the broken parts of your life and rebuilds what you do not yet see. Every tear you cry in waiting waters the soil of your next blessing. Every prayer you whisper becomes a brick in the foundation God is laying beneath you. Every moment where you resist giving up becomes a spiritual muscle forming in places you didn't know were weak. Waiting is not empty. It is heavy with divine activity. But waiting is also uncomfortable because it takes faith to stay where God placed you when your emotions want to run. It takes courage to trust a God you cannot see when your situation feels stuck. It takes maturity to believe God is working when nothing seems to be changing. Yet the truth remains, the deepest work of God often happens in the silence, not the noise, in the stillness, not the speed, in the waiting, not the rushing. Think of a seed buried in the ground. On the surface, it looks dead. Nothing moves, nothing changes, nothing breaks through the soil. But underground, in the darkness no one sees, the seed is cracking open, forming roots, expanding, strengthening, and preparing for the moment it will break through. If you judge the seed based on what was visible, you'd think nothing was happening. But the most important work is hidden beneath the surface. Your life is a seed in the hands of God. What looks like stillness is growth. What looks like silence is strategy. What looks like delay is development. What looks like rejection is redirection. What looks like nothing is actually not yet. Waiting also teaches you to unclench your hands from your own plans, to surrender the timeline you created and embrace the one God knows is best. You learn that your schedule is not sovereign, God is. Your pace is not perfect, God's is. Your plan is not permanent, God's plan stands forever. In waiting, you discover whether you want God or just what God can give you. Many people love answered prayers, open doors, divine miracles, and sudden breakthroughs. But God longs for children who love Him in the silence, who love him without conditions, who love him without immediate answers, who love him simply because he is God. Waiting exposes your motives. It reveals your heart. It forces you to ask, do I love God for who he is or only for what he does? The waiting season is holy because it purifies intention. As time passes, you begin to see that God's delays are not denials, but divine timings. He sees the full picture, the dangers, the influences, the people, the seasons, the opportunities, all of it. God will not send you into a future that isn't ready for you or one you aren't ready for. He values your destiny too much to rush you into places meant for a more mature version of you. Waiting becomes a training ground, a sacred classroom where God teaches you patience, faith, self-control, humility, obedience, and discernment. These qualities cannot grow in speed. They grow in slow seasons. They grow when nothing happens immediately. They grow when the blessing is out of reach, but God asks you to believe anyway. And slowly, almost without noticing, something shifts inside you. You become stronger, softer, wiser, calmer, more surrendered, more patient, more aligned with God's heart. The very things that once frustrated you now shape you. The very prayers that felt unanswered now deepen your trust. You begin to see that the waiting season was not a valley. It was a workshop, a sanctuary, a forge where your character was refined by the fire of patience and the flame of faith. And God watches gently, lovingly, intentionally. He sees the days when you want to give up. He hears the cry of your heart when you're tired of hoping. He notices the moments where you feel forgotten, unseen, overlooked. But heaven is not ignoring you. Heaven is investing in you. Because God never delays without purpose. When he holds something back, he is holding something better. When he closes a door, he is closing a danger. When he pauses your journey, he is clearing your path ahead. When he slows your pace, he is strengthening your spirit. When he asks you to wait, he is preparing your blessing and preparing you for your blessing at the same time. Waiting reveals the strength you didn't know you had. You learn to breathe in the silence, to walk without answers, to trust without evidence, and to stand even when every emotion tells you to sit down and surrender. Waiting builds a resilience that comfort could never teach. It stretches your faith until your faith becomes stronger than your fear, deeper than your doubt, and louder than your discouragement. But the beauty of waiting is this: God never asks you to wait alone. He stands beside you, even when you don't feel him. He whispers to your heart, even when you can't hear him. He guides your steps, even when the path seems invisible. And he holds your hand, especially in moments when you feel like letting go. His presence doesn't disappear in the delay. It becomes even more powerful in the quiet. Waiting also teaches you to separate what you want from what you need. Often, your desires change in the waiting room. The things you once chased lose their shine. The things you once thought were essential become unnecessary. Your values shift. Your priorities realign. And slowly, you become someone who no longer craves temporary things. You desire eternal things. You begin to understand what truly matters, what truly lasts, and what truly fulfills the soul. In waiting, God removes what is shallow and strengthens what is eternal. He untangles the knots of confusion, fear, insecurity, and impatience. He cuts away the unhealthy attachments you once depended on. He softens your heart, sharpens your discernment, and develops a spiritual maturity that could only grow through quiet seasons. Waiting forces you to confront the parts of yourself you would otherwise ignore. You begin to see the areas God wants to heal, the wounds you've hidden, the fears you've buried, the insecurities you've masked. Waiting brings these things to the surface not to shame you, but to set you free. God cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. And waiting is the space where he gently reveals what needs his touch. And while you are waiting, God is weaving. He is weaving people into your path, opportunities into your future, wisdom into your mind, and strength into your bones. He is weaving divine timing into every detail. Nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is forgotten. God is the master weaver, and every thread of your waiting season is being stitched into something beautiful. Waiting also teaches you to listen, not to the voices of fear, doubt, or insecurity, but to the whisper of God. His voice becomes clearer in the stillness. His guidance becomes sharper in the silence. His truth becomes louder when everything else quiets down. You learn to distinguish God's voice from your emotions, His truth from your fears, His direction from your confusion. And then, slowly, the waiting begins to change you. Your desperation becomes devotion. Your frustration becomes faith. Your impatience becomes endurance. Your anxiety becomes surrender. You stop resisting the process and begin embracing the purpose behind it. You realize that God wasn't asking you to wait because He forgot you. He was asking you to wait because He was shaping you. He was building a version of you that could walk confidently into the blessings He designed for you. He was strengthening the version of you that would hold the breakthrough without breaking under the weight. God never gives you more than you're prepared for. And in waiting, He prepares you for more. And just when you think you've reached your limit, when your strength feels gone, when your heart feels tired, when your mind feels overwhelmed, God gives you unexpected grace. A supernatural strength rises in you. A peace you cannot explain settles in your soul. A new courage awakens in your spirit. This is the grace that only waiting can produce. The kind of grace that is born in deep places, grown in quiet places, and revealed in appointed seasons. The longer you wait, the more you realize something powerful. God has been closer to you in your waiting than in any other season of your life. You didn't lose progress, you gained preparation. You didn't lose time, you gained transformation. You didn't lose answers, you gain alignment. And now, the person walking out of this waiting season is wiser, stronger, deeper, clearer, and far more prepared for what God has planned. But the script continues. God is still writing in your heart, and the journey moves forward. And sometimes, when you're standing in the middle of your struggle, you assume God is far away. But the truth is, the very moment you think you're standing alone is often the moment God is standing the closest. He stands beside you in the shadows, guiding you gently, even when you don't feel His hand. His silence is never His abandonment. His delay is never His denial. His stillness is never His absence. God is the one who stays when everyone else leaves, the one who listens when no one else understands, the one who fights for you quietly, powerfully, faithfully. There are seasons when life teaches you more through stillness than speed. Moments when God slows everything down, not to frustrate you, but to prepare you. Sometimes He isolates you not to punish you, but to strengthen you. He removes people not to make you lonely, but to give you clarity. He closes doors not to limit you, but to protect you. He holds you back not to delay you, but to align you with a greater purpose that your heart hasn't seen yet. And in those slow, quiet seasons, God works on the roots you cannot see. He strengthens your faith, deepens your endurance, refines your character, and sharpens your purpose. Because before God opens a big door, He prepares a strong heart behind it. Before He brings the blessing, He builds the foundation. Before He unveils the miracle, He shapes the person who will carry it. God is more interested in who you are becoming than how quickly you arrive where you want to be. Some days you wake up tired, not physically but spiritually. The weight on your chest feels heavier than your hope. Your heart whispers, "I don't know how much more I can take." But even in those moments, God whispers back, "I am your strength." He gives you the grace to stand one more time, the courage to believe again, the peace to breathe again. You may feel like you're breaking, but God is building something unshakable within you. You may feel like you've lost something, but God is restoring something far greater. You may feel like the storm is winning, but God is teaching you how to walk on waves. Every tear you've cried has been seen. Every silent prayer you've whispered has been heard. Every sleepless night has been noticed. Nothing about your pain is wasted. God collects every tear, turns every trial into training, and every setback into a setup. He is the only one who can take what was meant to destroy you and use it to develop you. The battle you're fighting right now is shaping you into someone stronger than the enemy ever expected. And while you walk through the fire, God walks with you. While you face the mountain, God strengthens you. While you wait for the breakthrough, God prepares it. You may not see the full picture yet, but God is arranging every detail. He is aligning the right people, the right moments, the right opportunities, and the right doors. Nothing about your story is random. Nothing about your journey is accidental. God is intentional, precise, and perfect in every timing. Sometimes the miracle is not that the storm stops. Sometimes the miracle is that you survive it. Sometimes the victory is not that God removes the struggle. Sometimes it's that the struggle reveals who you really are. Strength is born in pressure. Faith is built in uncertainty. Courage grows in adversity. And hope shines the brightest in the darkest moments of your life. So breathe. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are not overlooked. Your name is written on the palms of God's hands. Your future is held in His plan. Your story is wrapped in His love. And even now, even here, even in this very moment, you are being carried by a God who has never failed and never will. And if you could see what God is protecting you from, you would thank Him even for the doors that closed, even for the opportunities that slipped away, even for the people who walked out of your life. Not every loss is a defeat. Some losses are divine redirections. Some endings are sacred beginnings. God knows what you can't see. He knows the motives behind every smile, the intentions behind every opportunity, and the future behind every decision. That's why His no is just as loving as His yes. Every time you felt disappointed, God whispered, "Trust me." Every time you felt alone, God whispered, "I am here." Every time you wanted to give up, He whispered, "Hold on, I'm not done yet." And even though you didn't hear those whispers out loud, your heart survived because of them. God has been carrying you with a strength you didn't know you had. The fact that you're still standing today is not your power, it's His grace. There are seasons when you don't feel spiritual. You don't feel strong. You don't feel inspired. And sometimes you don't even feel like praying. But God doesn't love you because you're perfect. He loves you because you're His. He doesn't care about polished prayers. He cares about honest hearts. You don't have to impress Him. Just come to Him. Even your weakest prayer moves heaven. Even your smallest faith pleases God. Even your quietest cries reach His throne. Maybe you've been waiting for something for a long time. Longer than you expected, longer than you planned, longer than you felt capable of enduring. And the waiting has felt like a burden. But what if the waiting is actually a blessing? What if God is using this time to prepare the blessing to match your maturity? Delay doesn't mean denial. God is not making you wait to punish you. He's making you wait to strengthen you. When the blessing comes, it will make sense why the timing had to be what it was. There are breakthroughs that only arrive after long battles. There are miracles that only show up after long prayers. There are victories that only come after long valleys. And there are callings that only become clear after long confusion. Nothing great God builds is rushed. Even the oak tree that stands strong for centuries starts as a small seed buried in darkness. And sometimes God buries you too, not to end you, but to plant you. Because where He plants you, He intends for you to grow. And while you grow, God prunes you. He removes attitudes that hold you back, fears that paralyze you, doubts that destroy you, and habits that drain you. Growth doesn't always feel good. It stretches you. It challenges you. It exposes your weaknesses. But growth is the evidence that God is active in your life. If He didn't have a plan for you, He wouldn't invest this much in you. You are being shaped for something greater than what you've lost, greater than what you're waiting for, greater than what you've imagined. Even now, God is preparing a chapter you haven't turned to yet. A chapter filled with peace after pain, clarity after confusion, joy after sorrow, strength after weakness, and purpose after wandering. Your story is not stuck. It's unfolding exactly as it should. And the author of your life has never written a story that ends in failure. If it's not good yet, God is not done yet. He finishes what he starts. He completes what he began. He perfects what he promises. So lift your head, even if it feels heavy. Step forward, even if your legs tremble. Pray again, even if your voice shakes. Hope again, even if your heart feels tired. Because God is about to turn the page. And when he does, everything you've endured will make sense. Everything you've lost will find meaning. Everything you've prayed for will find fulfillment. And everything you've become through the struggle will become the testimony someone else needs to hear. And one day, you will look back on this exact season, the pain, the confusion, the waiting, the stretching, and you will whisper to yourself, "Now I understand. Now I see why God allowed it. Now I know why I had to walk through that valley. Now I know why certain people left. Now I know why those doors closed. If everything had gone the way I wanted, I would have missed what God had planned. Because God's plans are not just better. They are wiser, deeper, safer, and far more loving than anything you could design for yourself." At times, the journey feels unfair. You watch others rise quickly while you feel stuck. You see people who didn't work as hard receive opportunities you prayed for. You see people who hurt you move on like nothing happened. And you ask yourself, why me? Why is my road harder? Why is my progress slower? But hear this clearly. God is not preparing you for a normal life. He is preparing you for a purposeful life. And purposeful lives require extra preparation, extra pruning, extra patience, extra faith, extra resilience. You're not behind. You're being built. And God's building process is often hidden. Just as a foundation is laid underground before a skyscraper rises, God works beneath the surface before your breakthrough appears. You may not see movement, but something is happening. You may not see the progress, but something is shifting. You may feel nothing changing, but God is aligning everything for the perfect moment. Because when the time is right, you won't have to force it. It will unfold naturally, gracefully, powerfully, exactly the way God ordained it. Sometimes God takes you the long way because the short way would have broken you. Sometimes he slows you down to protect you from dangers you can't perceive. Sometimes he removes people you trusted because their presence would have limited your destiny. Sometimes he hides you so he can heal you. Sometimes he holds you back so he can launch you further. Everything God allows has purpose. Everything God delays has wisdom. Everything God denies has protection. You haven't missed your chance. You haven't messed up your destiny. You haven't failed beyond repair. You are not too late. You are not too far gone. You are not disqualified from God's plan. His calling on your life is not fragile. His purpose for you is not dependent on your perfection. His grace is not weakened by your mistakes. God rewrites, restores, rebuilds, and redeems. Nothing is too broken for him. Nothing is too complicated for him. Nothing is too lost for him. Even the things you regret, God can transform. Even the moments you wish you could erase, God can use. Even the seasons you thought were wasted, God can redeem. He is the master at turning ashes into beauty, sorrow into joy, battles into testimonies, weaknesses into strengths, and broken pieces into masterpieces. You may feel like your story is too messy, but God's specialty is using messy stories to reveal his glory. So don't count yourself out. Don't underestimate what God can do with a surrendered heart. Don't assume your best days are behind you. God does not run out of miracles. He does not run out of favor. He does not run out of opportunities. He does not run out of grace. And he certainly doesn't run out of plans for you. If you're breathing, he's still working. If you're living, he's still writing. If you're praying, he's still listening. If you're hoping, he's still moving. There will come a moment when everything that confused you suddenly becomes clear. When every unanswered prayer finally makes sense. When every painful chapter connects to the story God was building. You will see that nothing was random. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was meaningless. God was in every detail, every tear, every delay, every closed door, every miracle you didn't even know he was performing. And on that day, your heart will overflow with gratitude, not just for the blessings, but for the battles that shaped you, the storms that strengthened you, and the waiting that matured you. You will thank God for not giving you what you wanted when you wanted it, because what He had planned was far more beautiful than anything you could have imagined. And as you keep walking, even with trembling steps, you will begin to notice something shifting inside you. Strength you didn't know you had will start to rise. Peace that doesn't match your circumstances will begin to settle in your spirit. Hope that felt buried will slowly breathe again. Because every season of hardship plants something inside you. Something eternal, something powerful, something that cannot be taken away by fear or doubt or disappointment. Over time, you'll begin to realize that some of the greatest gifts God gives you are not material things, but inner transformations. He gives you patience when you once had frustration. He gives you courage when you once had fear. He gives you wisdom when you once acted impulsively. He gives you peace when you once lived in anxiety. These are treasures that no one can steal, blessings that storms cannot break, foundations that no force of darkness can shake. And the more God works in you, the more you begin to understand that His love is not just comforting, it's transformative. It doesn't just soothe you, it strengthens you. It doesn't just heal you, it reshapes you. It doesn't just carry you, it empowers you to stand, to rise, to walk, to believe again, even after everything you've lost and everything you've been through. That's the kind of love God gives, endless, patient, sustaining, and fiercely protective. There will be moments when you feel like you've reached your limit. Moments when you feel drained emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Moments when your heart feels like it's carrying more than it can hold. But in those moments, God steps in and becomes your strength. Not the kind of strength the world talks about. Not a tough exterior or a forced smile, but a quiet strength that runs deep inside your soul. A strength that says, you will rise again. You will overcome this. You will not be defeated, because God never intended for you to carry your burdens alone. He never asked you to fight your battles alone. He never created you to walk through darkness without His light guiding your steps. You were created to rely on Him, to lean on Him, to rest in Him. And when you do, you discover a type of peace that doesn't make sense to the world, but makes perfect sense to heaven. Sometimes, God will let you reach the end of your own strength, not to break you, but to show you His. He lets you come to the end of your plans so He can unfold His better ones. He lets you exhaust your strategies so He can reveal His sovereignty. He lets you feel empty so He can fill you with something divine, something eternal, something far more powerful than anything you could have created on your own. And even though you may not realize it now, you are growing. You are developing. You are becoming refined through every trial and every test. You're learning patience, learning resilience, learning trust, learning surrender. You're learning to walk by faith, not by sight. And faith is not built on clarity. It is built on trust. Trust in a God who sees the future you cannot see, who knows the path you cannot predict, who holds the answers you cannot understand yet. Every day you choose to keep going, heaven celebrates. Every day you pray, even when you feel nothing, heaven hears. Every day you choose hope over fear, heaven moves. Every day you take one step forward, even a small one, heaven releases strength you didn't know you had. Because your journey is not just about reaching a destination, it's about who you become along the way. Your story is still unfolding. Your breakthrough is still forming. Your blessing is still growing. The chapter you're living right now, no matter how heavy or confusing, is not the final chapter. God is still writing, and what He writes next will turn every tear into testimony, every burden into breakthrough, every valley into victory. And even when you feel like nothing is happening, God is quietly arranging things in your favor. He is softening hearts you haven't even met yet. He is aligning opportunities that haven't reached your life yet. He is preparing rooms you haven't stepped into yet. He is shaping blessings you don't even have the capacity to imagine yet. You may not see the movement, but heaven is never still. God is never inactive. His silence is full of strategy. His stillness is full of preparation. There will be a moment, a day, a divine appointment, where everything God has been preparing will suddenly come together. And it won't happen slowly, it will happen suddenly. Suddenly the door opens. Suddenly the opportunity arrives. Suddenly the clarity comes. Suddenly the healing begins. Suddenly the right people show up. God is a God of sudden shifts. And when your suddenly moment comes, every year of waiting will feel like a small price for the glory that follows. But while you wait, God builds the foundation inside you. Because blessings without foundation turn into burdens. Success without character becomes a downfall. Open doors without maturity can lead to destruction. That's why God is taking his time with you, not to withhold, but to fortify. He is shaping you into someone who can handle what he's preparing. Someone who won't break under pressure. Someone who won't lose themselves in the blessing. Someone who can stand firm through every storm. You may not feel strong yet, but strength is being built inside you. You may not feel confident yet, but God is planting courage in your spirit. You may not feel healed yet, but restoration is happening beneath the surface. You may not feel joyful yet, but joy is growing like a seed waiting for its season to bloom. God never starts something without finishing it. And the work he began in you will not be abandoned halfway. It will be completed with beauty, excellence, and purpose. There will come a time when you realize the season that tried to break you was actually the season that made you unbreakable. You'll see that the pain that once felt unbearable became the pathway to your destiny. You'll understand that God didn't allow the storm to drown you. He allowed it to cleanse you. He didn't let the fire consume you. He used it to refine you. He didn't let the valley weaken you. He used it to strengthen you. Every hardship was a stepping stone. Every setback was preparation. Every disappointment was divine redirection. And as God continues to shape your story, he will also bring the right people into your life. People who speak life over you, who pray for you, who encourage you, who lift you when you're weak, who love you with sincerity, who understand your calling, who celebrate your growth, who stay loyal in your storms. These are not ordinary relationships. These are God-ordained connections. The kind that transform your journey and help you carry your purpose. You don't have to chase anything God has assigned to you. Not people, not opportunities, not success. What is meant for you cannot be taken, delayed, or destroyed. It will find you. It will locate you. It will arrive at the exact moment God designed. And when it does, there will be no confusion, no forcing, no begging, no uncertainty. God's blessings come with peace, not pressure, with clarity, not chaos, with alignment, not anxiety. So breathe deeply, rest your heart, release your worries, cast your burdens, because God is not only aware of your situation, he is actively involved in it. He is working, guiding, shaping, preparing, restoring, and orchestrating things in ways far beyond your understanding. What feels like a struggle now will soon become the story that inspires others. You are walking into a future designed by the hands of a God who loves you beyond measure. And that future is filled with grace, filled with purpose, filled with healing, filled with new beginnings, filled with divine surprises that will remind you that God has always been faithful. And as you step into your next season, you'll begin to notice that the things which once overwhelmed you no longer have the same power. The wounds that once felt unbearable won't sting the same way. The doubts that used to silence your faith won't be able to shake you anymore. Because every season you survived has strengthened your spirit. Every battle you fought has sharpened your discernment. Every tear you cried has watered the soil of your growth. You are not the same person you were before the storm. You are stronger, wiser, more grounded, and more aware of God's presence than ever before. And while you may not have seen it happening day by day, God has been quietly transforming you. He's been renewing your mind, reshaping your perspective, expanding your capacity, and deepening your wisdom. Growth rarely feels dramatic. It often feels like waiting, struggling, questioning, and trusting. But when you look back, you realize God was doing more in the unseen than you could ever measure in the visible. There will be moments when you suddenly realize how far you've come. Moments when you catch yourself responding with peace instead of panic. Moments when you choose faith over fear without even thinking. Moments when you notice that your prayers have become deeper, your patience longer, your heart softer, and your courage louder. These are signs that God has been molding you gently, consistently, lovingly. And even when you feel like you're not making progress, God is still guiding you. The steps you take today, no matter how small, are leading you toward the future He designed. And nothing can stop the plan He set in motion. Not your past, not your mistakes, not your enemies, not your fear, not your delays. God's plans are not fragile. They are unshakable, immovable, secure by His power. Some days, you will wake up and sense God's presence so strongly that you feel invincible. Other days, you will wake up and feel numb, tired, unsure. In both days, God is with you. Your feelings don't dictate His faithfulness. Your emotions don't change His commitment. He is constant in your inconsistency. He is steady in your storms. He is faithful even when you feel faithless. And whenever you feel lost, remember this: God knows exactly where you are. You're not wandering aimlessly. You're being led intentionally. Every path you walk, every mountain you climb, every valley you cross, the Lord is right beside you. Even when you can't hear Him, He is speaking. Even when you can't see Him, He is guiding. Even when you can't feel Him, He is holding you. You might not understand certain seasons until much later, but that's all right. Faith is not built on understanding. It's built on trusting a God who understands everything. Faith says, I don't know the how, but I trust the one who does. Faith says, I don't see the answer yet, but I know God is working. Faith says, even if I feel weak, God's strength is enough. And this trust, this deep, unshakable trust, is what allows you to move forward even when life is uncertain. It's what keeps you grounded when circumstances shake around you. It's what lifts your spirit when the world tries to weigh you down. Trust in God becomes your anchor, your peace, your hope, your shield, your strength. And slowly, you begin to realize that everything God allows in your life has purpose. Even your heartbreak developed compassion. Even your failures taught humility. Even your losses taught wisdom. Even your delays taught patience. God wastes nothing, not your pain, not your waiting, not your tears. Everything is being woven into a story far more beautiful than you could ever write on your own. And as you continue walking, you'll discover that God's timing is perfect, not early, not late. Exactly right, precisely aligned, beautifully orchestrated. And when His timing meets your readiness, doors open with ease. Mountains move effortlessly. Opportunities unfold naturally. Blessings flow without forcing anything. What once felt impossible suddenly becomes reality. Not because you pushed harder, but because God said, now. And when God says, now, everything that was once a struggle will begin to make sense. The weight that sat on your shoulders will lift. The confusion that clouded your mind will clear. The heaviness that drained your spirit will loosen. You will feel a shift, a divine turning, where suddenly the things that felt impossible begin to unfold with ease. Not because life suddenly got easier, but because God released what He had been preparing all along. There will come a moment when all the waiting, all the praying, all the endurance, all the tears, all the confusion will meet God's perfect timing. And in that moment, you'll understand why you couldn't rush the process. You'll see why God needed to shape certain parts of your character, why He removed certain people from your path, why He allowed some doors to close, why He held you back when you were ready to run. You'll understand that God wasn't delaying your destiny. He was protecting it, because some blessings are too big for the version of you that existed in your past. Some miracles require a deeper faith than you had before. Some callings demand a stronger foundation than the one you used to stand on. And God, in His wisdom, knows the exact moment when you're ready, when your heart is mature enough, when your spirit is strong enough, when your character is prepared enough, when your faith is rooted enough, when your vision is clear enough. And when that moment arrives, nothing can stop what God releases. Not the enemy, not fear, not doubt, not your past, not your failures, not the opinions of people. When God opens a door, it stays open. When He declares a season, it comes to pass. When He breathes on your future, it comes alive with purpose. His timing is unstoppable. His plans are unshakable. His word is unbreakable. But even before the blessing comes, God is already working inside you. He is preparing your heart to receive what He has planned. He is strengthening your identity so that you know your worth is rooted in Him, not in the outcome. He is deepening your relationship with Him so that when the blessing arrives, it doesn't replace Him in your heart. Because sometimes the greatest danger is not losing the blessing, but losing yourself in the blessing. That's why God heals you slowly. That's why He teaches you how to trust, step by step. That's why He corrects the lies you once believed about yourself. That's why He rebuilds your identity on His truth, not on your wounds or your past experiences. He wants you to stand strong, no matter how high He lifts you. He wants you to remain humble, no matter how much you accomplish. He wants you to stay grounded, no matter how far you go. You will notice that as God works on your heart, forgiveness becomes easier. Not because the pain disappears, but because God strengthens your spirit enough to release what weighed you down. You will notice that peace becomes more natural. Not because life gets perfect, but because God teaches you how to rest in His promises even when circumstances shake. You will notice that fear loses its grip. Not because the challenges disappear, but because you learn who walks beside you through every valley. And the more you walk with God, the more you begin to understand that His presence is your greatest gift. Not the blessings, not the breakthroughs, not the miracles, though He gives those too, but His presence, the assurance that you are never alone, the comfort that He is near even in silence, the security of knowing you are loved without condition, the confidence that His hand is guiding your steps even when the path is unclear. This presence becomes your anchor, your foundation, your source of hope, your source of strength. And even on the hardest days, this presence whispers to your spirit, keep going. I am with you. You are closer than you think. So don't lose heart. Don't let the waiting discourage you. Don't let the silence convince you that God has forgotten you. He hasn't. He sees you. He knows you. He remembers every prayer. He collects every tear. He is preparing something far more beautiful than you can imagine. And when the time is right, you will step into a season that reminds you that every moment of pain had purpose. And maybe you don't even realize it, but the very fact that you're still here, still listening, still trying, is proof that God's hand has been carrying you in ways you didn't see. There were moments you should have broken, but you didn't. There were nights you should have collapsed under the weight. But somehow, strength rose inside you. There were situations designed to take your peace, but peace kept returning anyway. There were attacks meant to drain you, but something kept refilling you. That was not luck. That was not coincidence. That was God, quietly protecting you from battles you never even knew were coming, gently redirecting you away from paths that would have hurt you, softly guiding you toward moments that will one day make you say, Lord, now I see why it had to happen this way. Your tears were not wasted. Your waiting was not useless. Your prayers were not ignored. Your pain was not pointless. God uses everything, even the confusion, even the delays, even the heartbreak, even the things you begged Him to remove. He turns it all into preparation, because before He gives you the blessing, He builds you for it. Before He opens the door, He strengthens the steps that will walk through it. Before He answers the prayer, He shapes the heart that will receive it. And maybe right now, you're in that shaping season, a season that feels quiet, slow, hidden, unseen. But hear this, hidden seasons are holy seasons. That's where God does His deepest work. That's where roots grow. That's where strength is formed. That's where character is refined. That's where purpose is carved into your soul. People may not see it. They may not understand it. They may think nothing is happening in your life. Let them think that, because God is doing something they can't see. He's aligning opportunities you're not aware of. He's preparing rooms you haven't walked into. He's creating connections you haven't met. He's setting divine appointments you don't know about. What feels like a delay to you is divine timing to God. What feels like silence to you is strategy to heaven. What feels like nothing is changing is actually everything shifting. And when God moves, He moves suddenly. Suddenly the job comes. Suddenly the healing starts. Suddenly the right people appear. Suddenly the opportunity opens. Suddenly the breakthrough hits your life. God may take His time, but when He acts fast. That's why He's telling you today, don't give up before the sudden happens. Because sometimes the last stretch feels the hardest. Not because you're failing, but because you're closest to the breakthrough, closest to the answer, closest to the turning point, closest to the season shift. The pressure you feel isn't a sign to quit. It's a sign you're about to step into something new. So let your heart breathe. Let your faith stretch. Let your spirit rise again. You're not late. You're aligned. You're not abandoned. You're anointed. You're not overlooked. You're handpicked by God. And everything that felt heavy, everything that felt confusing, everything that felt like a setback, God is about to turn it into a testimony so powerful that even your enemies will say, surely the Lord is with them. Your story is still unfolding. Your chapter is still being written. Your miracle is still forming. And God is still saying, my child, I'm not done. Keep walking with me. And maybe this is the moment where God is reminding you that what you call falling behind, He calls being positioned. Because God doesn't rush. God doesn't panic. God isn't limited by time the way you feel you are. He works outside of deadlines, beyond schedules, above limitations. He works in dimensions you cannot see. And He prepares blessings that arrive right when your heart is ready. You see, sometimes God withholds what you want to protect what you need. Sometimes He closes the door because what's behind it would break you. Sometimes He slows your pace because the blessing ahead is not ready yet. Sometimes He isolates you because the voices around you are blocking His voice. And sometimes He lets things be taken away so He can replace them with something better. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. God is stretching your faith, deepening your patience, sharpening your discernment, and strengthening your character. He's developing the version of you that can carry the next season because the person you were cannot walk into where God is taking you. You've grown too much. You've endured too much. You've learned too much. You've survived too much to go backward. This is your rising season, even if it doesn't look like it yet. The enemy wanted you to think the waiting was empty, but God says the waiting is productive. The enemy wanted you to feel forgotten, but God says you're being set apart. The enemy wanted you to quit, but God is saying you're closer than you think, closer to clarity, closer to peace, closer to restoration, closer to open doors, closer to answer prayers, closer to the life you've been preparing for. Every day may look ordinary, but something spiritual is happening underneath the surface. God is rewiring your mindset. He's healing old wounds. He's removing people who can't go with you. He's aligning your steps with destiny. He's building a foundation that won't collapse this time. You're not going in circles. You're being refined. You're not stuck. You're being stabilized. You're not forgotten. You're being formed. And when God finishes forming you, nothing and no one will be able to stop what He releases into your life. Your future will make sense soon. The pain will make sense soon. The delay will make sense soon. The silence will make sense soon. You will look back and say, God, you knew exactly what you were doing. So keep breathing, keep trusting, keep moving, keep believing, because the chapter you're about to enter will make every tear worth it, every prayer meaningful, every lonely night purposeful. God is preparing something so beautiful, so perfect, so timely, so undeniably divine, that it will erase the weight of everything you carried to get here. And when it arrives, you won't say, finally. You'll say, Lord, this was worth the wait. And before you go, let this truth settle in your heart. God has not forgotten you. Not your tears, not your prayers, not your struggles, not your silent battles. Every moment you thought you were alone, He was carrying you. Every situation that felt impossible, He was making a way through it. Every delay that frustrated you, He was preparing something better than what you asked for. So here's the lesson I want you to take with you today. When God is silent, He is not absent. When God is delaying, He is not denying. And when God is preparing, He is protecting you for something greater. Your story is still being written. Your miracle is still in motion. Your breakthrough is still on schedule. So walk with faith, hold on with strength, and trust that what God has for you, no force in hell can stop. If this message touched your heart today, tap like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful Jesus motivation. And share this message to bless someone else today.